You're here to save my life, literally. So I'll just tell you a little bit about me, and we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Koen, and for a number of years I was adjunct faculty here, and I taught the Success Strategies class. Many of you may have been familiar with that or had that at some point in your career, and I enjoyed that. While I was doing that, I was also the Affirmative Action Diversity Coordinator for Anoka County. And folks know where Anoka is?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Sometimes you say that and people are like, where? Right? So Anoka County, right up on the other side of 169, right? So right downtown Anoka. And before that, I was a high school teacher for 8 years. And my kids kicked my butt. It was hard, right? Particularly my first year. So my first year of teaching, before I had studied to become a teacher, I was a camp counselor, right? So do you guys know camp counselors? Have you ever been to camps and that kind of stuff, right? So camp counselors are typically pretty hyper and happy individuals, right? They're like, all right, guys, let's get up and let's do some exercises, and let's play this goofy game, right? And they try to get kids motivated, so they're the big motivation and all that kind of stuff. And so I left St. Louis, Missouri, where I was this camp counselor, to teach high school in the Midway area of St. Paul. So I had spent 2 weeks preparing for this opportunity to serve, right? So I had the bulletin board all decorated, I had the students' folders, I had their assigned seats, I had syllabus, I had syllabi ready for them. I was really excited. And so the students come into the classroom, they grab their seats, and I declare, students, let's get ready to learn! Yeah, how do you think they responded? Yeah, a lot like you guys, right? So then I'm like, dude, tone it down. So I had to relearn how to teach. And so a lot of the things that I'm going to share with you are things that I learned as a teacher. And did everyone get a handout? And does everyone have something to write with? Okay, so I am not going to do your work. So the handouts are right by the door. And if we can have a staff member, if you guys wouldn't mind getting them. Okay, great. That would be super.
Do you need one? What school did you teach at?
Skills for Tomorrow. It's a charter school in the Midway area of St. Paul on Wheeler Street, right off of University.
Oh yeah, that's where I'm from.
Is that where you're from?
I went to Central though.
Oh, okay, yeah, right around the corner. So do you know Miss Shabazz, Nafisa Shabazz? Her boys play football at Central.
Yeah, sounds familiar. Can't forget that.
Yeah, that's a easy, yeah. Not even I can forget that, right? Yeah, so she taught there, and so everyone has a handout? All right, cool. And so I'm going to share a bunch of stuff with you that I would share with my students. I'll also, this particular presentation is also available on my website, which is andrecoen.com, so if you ever want to look at it, use it, go over some of the stuff, because there are 74 slides, and I am not going to get all 74 in this particular presentation. All right? But there are some key things that I do want to touch on that we'll have some time, particularly before 12:15, to get to. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of why we might talk about diversity and why we might need a new paradigm, right? So most of us know that if we're in the workplace and we touch someone inappropriately, right? What does that typically refer to? Harassment, right? So that is harassment, particularly if they didn't ask us to, right? So that is harassment. And I see many of you are in white, which means to me that you are doing something with healthcare. Yes. Right? Nursing specifically. All right? Because sometimes there's CNAs. I'm not sure if CNAs also wear white or
no,
they wear blue.
They got lucky.
Okay. So at least you're not wearing orange or pink.
Probably I'd rather rock those colors.
No, those are prison colors. What's
Easier to
that?
hide.
I've been in nursing school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so nursing school is a lot like, okay. I got it. So there's this thing called discrimination that we are familiar with, and one of the ways that people get discriminated against is harassment. I'll talk about why, as health professionals, it's important to understand this diversity stuff. I think you know it intuitively, but I'm going to give you more things that you can back up what you know intuitively, right? So there are laws associated with discrimination. There are laws associated with discrimination. So what is the document that guides everything that should happen in the United States? What is that document called?
Constitution.
It is called the Constitution of the United States. And I am saddened that only one person said it.
She would say it.
All right? So, the Constitution guides us. So what happens if you don't know about the guiding principles that happen in terms of a speed limit, right? So if a speed limit changes and you don't know about it, do you still get a ticket?
Yep.
Yeah, you still get a ticket, right? So if you don't understand or know about the Constitution, and I won't ask this next question because I don't want to embarrass anyone, but I do have a question around if anyone has read the Constitution. Do not raise your hand, don't flinch, don't make an eyebrow, but I would encourage you to look at that document because that guides, it should guide a number of the things that we do. And as a part of that, we also should look at the preamble to the Constitution. Because the preamble to the Constitution is going to tell us a lot about what is happening in the Constitution and the document itself. Which also leads me to the Declaration of Independence, right? So we need to understand that document too. Or we will be confused as to why we're having these diversity conversations in America. We have a black president. Isn't it over? Right?
You'd think.
So you might think that, but it's more than just talking about black and white. It's more than just having a black president. It's really about how do we want to build and keep and maintain our nation. And so if we don't understand those basic principles, the rest of the stuff that I'm talking about will be pretty foreign. But I do believe that innately you'll understand these concepts and how and why we need to keep them enforced, right? So legally, there is this thing called discrimination and harassment. And discrimination is basically broken into two parts. There is retaliation, and that typically is an employer who gets back at an employee for telling on them, right? So I'm going to punish you for telling on us. And so retaliation is illegal. There's a legal process for that. And then harassment is broken into several different classes. So there is race, gender, or ethnicity harassment that feeds into discrimination. There's gender or sexual bias that feeds into discrimination. There is religious or lack of religious affiliation associated with discrimination. There's age and disability and permanent and limited disabilities, right? So a person who is pregnant has a limited disability, right? A person who's broken their leg has a limited disability. But a person who is blind or has a cognitive delay could be labeled disabled, right? In terms of how we give them access and resources. So all of that stuff. So this is all the legal stuff. And so we try to stay away from this discrimination because discrimination is bad. Right? Okay, cool. So what I want you to do is I want you to, on the back of your handout, there are 5 green circles. There are 5 green circles. What I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to put one thing that you value, one thing that is important to you, in each of those circles. One thing that you value in each of those circles. It could be a place like the cabin. It could be a person like a significant other or a child or a parent, a relationship. It could be a thing like a car or a motorcycle. It could be a concept like love or freedom or peace. 5 things that you value. 1 in each of those circles. So she's got all 5. Looks like some folks are working on the 5th one. Don't let it frighten you. This isn't the ACT. All right. Looks like most people have 4, if not all 5. So we'll go to the next thing I'm going to ask you to do. What I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to play a game. And the game is very simple. What I'd like for you to do is I want you to find 2 people that either share one of your values or they actually have it written on their paper. Right? So they either share it or they agree with the value that you have on your paper. And I want them to put their initials in that circle. Now, here's it before you start. Only one person can sign your paper twice, but no more than twice, right? So, what is your name?
Janelle.
Janelle. So I can sign Janelle's paper twice, but no more than twice. All right? Is that clear? All right, cool. I will give you 90 seconds to find 2 people for each one of those circles. On your mark, get set, go.
What do you have? Family. So I can put your initials here. Or I agree with yours. What? I just said agree with yours. Yeah, I agree with yours. I'll get all deep. Come on, what's yours? What? You probably what? Go ahead and do hers. Hey, you would do dogs.